What's good, YouTube? This is the Big Fish Network, home for Miami Dolphin fans worldwide. I'm your host, Dave Wade, back on the set once again with another episode. I got another good one for y'all. This is the second of a series of videos that I've been working on called Tua's New Playbook. The last episode was the first show in that series, and it was called SHULA'S Splitback System. If y'all didn't get a chance to peep that, man, y'all go on YouTube, check out that video. I talked a lot about how Shula used the running backs and used deception and used a lot of split back formations and weak and strong and far and near and shotgun split back. And I talked about how we can use that in the passing game to maximize Tua's potential, to maximize his accuracy. And that system that Shula developed with Marino is a version of the West Coast system, but it's Shula's version of the West Coast system. I showed you in that video, how Shula beat all of the coaching trees from Bill Walsh to, Buddy Ryan to Joe Gibbs. I showed you how he beat all of those teams, sprinkling in single back formations and just sprinkling in different plays out of shotgun, wide sets, 4 wide sets, 5 wide sets. The base of the formations, the base of the attack is through the split back system, and also utilizing the tight ends, and just everybody's a weapon. And in that split back system, you can basically turn what looks like a 3 wide receiver set into a 5 wide receiver set in no time. And I also think that's what Mike McDaniel should take advantage of with these wide receivers that we have and with these running backs that we have who got good catching ability and good hands. And Shula not only had an intricate passing scheme, but he also had an intricate rushing attack and a real deceptive rushing philosophy as well. If you've been following me since the beginning, you've heard me emphasize how important it is that we tailor our room, to fit Tua Tagovailoa. We got to make sure that these running backs fit his skill set, and I got strong views about how we should go about doing it. Some of this is based on my opinion, based on me watching film, me studying football for myself, and the rest of it is based on what the great Don Shula did and what I think he would do if he was coaching today and coaching this team. I want to pay my respect and say rest in power to the legend. I call this system Shula's three-headed monsters. Y'all be sure and hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. I want to say shout out to all of those that subscribed and viewed. Y'all stay tapped in. Shout out to all those who commented on the Shula Splitback System video. I know y'all watching this right now, and I hope y'all enjoying this. Now, I really want to make sure that I emphasize, I want our room to eventually be similar to the running back room that Tua had at Alabama with power back Najee Harris, versatile running back Damian Harris, and shifty speed back Josh Jacobs. With those 3 running backs, Alabama was able to hurt teams with the RPO attack. Jalen Hurts was good at it, scrambling out of the pocket and killing teams with his legs, but he just didn't have the arm speed and arm accuracy needed to really stretch teams out down the field. When Nick Saban made the decision to insert Tua, he quickly noticed right away Tua had accuracy that was pinpoint, and the most underrated part of Tua's game is his scrambling ability. He's not as slippery as Josh Allen or lethal like Lamar Jackson or Kyler Murray, but he got his own style of scrambling, and I like what I saw on tape. If you watch 2 of his best scrambling games in his career so far, that Arizona game in 2020 and that Jets game last year, Arizona game, you saw his juke ability in the open field. Jets game, you saw his truck ability. Both plays reveal that Tua is twitchy with the reflexes to make a quick decision and alter his moves based off instinct. I want our running backs to also be twitchy. I like the addition of running back Sony Michel, running back Chase Edmonds, and Raheem Mostert. Chase Edmonds ran a 4.55 at the combine before he was drafted by the Cardinals. That's more than enough speed to be a lead back. Same with running back Raheem Mostert. He got elite speed, probably in the 4.2s, but I would prefer both of them to be a part of a trio with Sony Michel and not them competing for a lead back spot, but them working together and just being cogs in the machine of a three-headed monster. Let's take a deep dive into DW's playbook. I know somewhere in Hard Rock Stadium, Shula left a manual. Mike McDaniel needs to find it and share it with quarterback Tua Tagovailoa and build him a new three-headed running back monster. Now, some say that the league has changed to more of a passing league and a quarterback league. As Colin Cowherd always repeats, you got to have a quarterback. If you don't have a quarterback, you're not going anywhere. The league is not how it used to be, end quote. And that's true because that's how they wanted to be. They wanted to be the quarterbacks, wide receivers, and left tackles to get paid the most. They want them to get all of the cheddar. But I want to start seeing the pulling guards and the centers getting paid. Let them get some of the skrilla too. You know what I'm talking about? I think history can repeat itself and the league can be dominated again by the running game and by being balanced with high precision passing and play action. Shula proved this in the 70s. I know that was ages ago. Trust me, I know we're talking about ages ago. But again, I'm using the great Don Shula as a reference for how to win Super Bowls. The man won 347 games, and we need to open up the Shula playbook to get to that next level. One of the things that I noticed watching football just over the last 5 years is that teams are running a lot of the same formations to me. When I watch the game, I don't care what the team is over the last few years, it just seemed like everybody been running basically the same damn plays. A lot of shotgun, a lot of 3x1s, 4 wide, 5 wide looks. And even in goal line and short yardage situations, when all you need is 1 or 2 damn yards, instead of them running the football, they're in shotgun, they're in 3x1s. And, with a single back formation, with a running back to the left or right of the quarterback, and the fullback is pretty much extinct. In 2018, over half of NFL teams didn't carry one fullback on the roster. They used either a tight end or an H-back instead because colleges pretty much are no longer using fullbacks. They pass a lot out of the spread, and it's a passing league in the NFL. I love the fact that Mike McDaniel wants 2 fullbacks on this roster, which is Shula-like. So he already off to a good start, if you ask me. I hope we keep both John Lovett and Alec Ingold, and I'm even open to having 3 fullbacks, on the roster. If we could turn maybe, like I said, Jared Dokes into a rushing fullback. Shula used multiple fullback types in his schemes and even used some power running backs, like I said, as all-purpose fullbacks. Larry Zonka was the best fullback and is the mold that I'm looking for first when I'm looking for a big punishing power running back. Or a player in a mold of Andre Franklin, who's more of a short power back. Without a strong rushing attack, we really can't judge Tua Tagovailoa as a quarterback of the Miami Dolphins. When I look at our current running backs, I think what we missing is that thumper. So, in this draft, when I was building my draft board and listing my top 5 backs that I wanted us to target, all of them was power runners. All of them were 5'11" to 6'2", 220 to 250 pounds in weight, with a good stiff arm or a good punch or a forearm, who, when I notice them on tape, I want to see these running backs bomb first on contact. Just like Tupac made the song Bomb First When We Ride, that's what I want these power running backs to do. When I watch tape, are they durable enough to be the lead back? And have they shown in high school and college that they can consistently break a lot of tackles? Now you hear some fans and some players, writers, and NFL experts say that you need to have a bell cow running back like Nick Chubb or Dalvin Cook or Joe Mixon or Derrick Henry, or even last year, Jonathan Taylor, which I wish we would have drafted Jonathan Taylor. Chris Grier, I'm mad at you about that. I know the fans mad at you about that too. We should have drafted Jonathan Taylor when we had the chance. But other people devalue the running back position. Colin Cowherd, to me, sometimes it sounds like he devalued the running back position. They make it seem like it's not as important as having a quarterback and that you could just find one in any round. And, you know, there is evidence of that. But, you know, you still got to get lucky at times to find those. Jacksonville, they was able to find one like James Robinson. He's a good example. There's other examples. Some say running back by committee means that you're weak at that position. That means if you got 3 running backs that you utilizing all the time, that means you can't decide on none of them as the lead back. I disagree with that. To me, your running back position and your running back room should be defined based on the type of quarterback that you have. Some quarterbacks perform better as passers, believe it or not. As passers, I know it's the running backs, you know, but as passers, sometimes they perform better when they have certain build of running backs in their backfield behind them, running the football and blocking for them. And in different systems, you know, it requires different running backs. For example, as we can see, Ryan Tannehill operates better under center and more effectively with a heavier power back rather than a quick scat back, you know, who's like 190 or 210 pounds in that range. Because sometimes scat backs can get negative yards, and if they're in lead back, single back formations, the offense is at a disadvantage because most scat backs are not effective blockers. So you want to have some, if you're going to run single back and you're going to run Joe Gibbs scheme and you're going to run a lot of, you know, run and shoot single back schemes, you got to have a heavier back who's a good blocker. So if you watch tape and analyze the sacks that Tannehill took when he was with the Dolphins, some of them wasn't even that he was holding the ball too long. Some of it was that our running back that we had in the backfield wasn't strong enough to pick up the blitz. He wasn't strong enough to, you know, at the point of attack, block the blitz that was coming. Last year, I felt that we should have had Malcolm Brown in single back formations instead of Myles Gaskin. He's heavier, 230. Why wasn't, you know, Stewsville and Gossie, why wasn't they using Malcolm Brown in single back formations or shotgun formations instead? That's what I want to see. We, you know, start putting the emphasis on is having a power back in those formations. I think Ahmed is too small to be in those formations as well. Shotgun, I'm not too. I think shotgun, you can have a smaller back, you can have a scat back, because there's advantages to having a scat back in shotgun formations. But single back, no. I think you know, it's better to have a power back to me. But Shula intentionally ran by committee and intentionally wanted his 3-headed monster to consist of running backs with different weight classes and skill sets that he can use to create deception and advantages. He wasn't trying to get a bell cow running back ever, because his strategy was always to have a power back, a versatile back, and a shifty back. The power back was usually the leader of the 3, but either could be the leader based on strategy and based on game by game, but usually the power back was the leader. Let's look at his 70s monsters. The perfect 3-headed monster was a combination of Larry Zonka, Jim Kick, and Mercury Morris. From 1970 to 74, Larry Zonka accumulated 5,360 rushing yards and 37 touchdowns, Mercury Morris had 3,002 rushing yards, 26 touchdowns, and Jim Kick had 3,023 rushing yards, and he also had 1,788 receiving yards and 27 touchdowns. From 1970 to 1974, we went 57-12 and dominated the NFL with the running game. The three-headed monster as a whole combined for over 13,000 yards and 90 TDs. In 1972, the undefeated season of three ran for 2,600 yards and 23 touchdowns. All three complemented each other perfectly. Mercury Morris was interviewed and talked about the team's success during this run. Here's what he had to say.
Nothing more. With the way the league has evolved, and it's a passing league, right? And then you see what the Tennessee Titans did with Derrick Henry and the running game, 200 yards. And when you look back to the 70s with the Miami Dolphins, and it was all about the run.
Exactly.
What do you think is most important for an NFL team to be successful? Is it the passing game, say, of a Kansas City Chiefs, or is it the running game of the San Francisco 49ers?
Well, if you got the football and you keep the football, then you have a chance of controlling the football game.
Okay.
And I can't speak for these guys, but I know that when we played, our goal was to run 7 out of every 10 times in a league that ran 3 out of every 5 times. So we produced a way to keep the football out of the hands of the offense on the other side, and then having a defense that would. I just want to tell you this. The team that I played for, we were number 1 in offense, number 1 in defense, number 1 in special teams, fewest giveaways, most takeaways, least penalized, scored the most points, gave up the least. Ran 7 out of every 10 times in a league that ran 3 out of every 5 times. Broke the rushing record that year, falling 40 yards short of 3,000-yard rushing in a 14-game season, and we had the game wrapped up. We came out. We lost our starting quarterback for the first 6 games. He was gone. The guy who replaced him was throwing touchdown passes back in 1957 when I was 10. So we go into that game, we're 16-0, and they make us dogs in the Super Bowl because they said, oh, they can't win 17 games. Well, we didn't have to win 17. We only had to win 1. And that was the one we lined up for when we got our butts beat the year before. Because Don brought us in and told us, get back to that game and win that one. We just happened to go unbeaten. All I can say is, look at how many years we put up the crown. It's up to 100 years and we're still around. It's not a secret how we did it. The equation's the same. You want to go undefeated, you got to win every game.
Now, 1974 was the year that monster died because players wanted more money. He never found another Larry Zonka again, even though he was searching for it. I feel like he was searching for it his whole, after Larry Zonka left, the first time I felt like he just kept searching for it, couldn't find it, and so he just changed up his approach with how he developed his three-headed monsters. So from 1975 to 78, he used a combination of different running backs and fullbacks to form other three-headed monsters. And this is around the time when Shula started really implementing 2 fullbacks on his roster with a swing running back who can play special teams and contribute with a handful of offensive plays and trick plays. Fullback Don Nottingham was Zonka light. He wasn't exactly Zonka, but he was close to it. Not built the same, but he had similar punishing power and tenacity and became that shifty bowling ball that can get the tough yardage from for first down on 3rd and short, 4th and short, and was able to score most times in the goal line. And he was an initiator of attacks to put fear into defenders and make them not want to tackle him, same way Zonka did. Fullback Norm Boulage, he played that Jim Kick role, and he was versatile. He was able to make plays as a receiver and a rusher. And Mercury Morris and running back Benny Malone were the speed backs in 1975. Merc left in 1976. So from 76 to 77, Shula formed the monster with Benny Malone, Norm Boulage, and Don Nottingham. At the same time, running back Delvin Williams rushed for 1,203 yards, 7 touchdowns on the San Francisco 49ers in 1976, and he had 931 yards in 1977. Shula saw those numbers and he added Delvin to the Dolphins in 1978. Delvin Williams is probably the one true bell cow back that Shula ever had. Like I said, him and Mark Higgs, I would say to both of them, but more so Delvin, because he carried 272 times for 1,258 yards, 8 touchdowns, 4.6 yards per carry that year. And we went 11-5, almost to the Super Bowl, but lost to the Houston Oilers. Now, you would think that Shula would do everything in his damn power to keep this formula. You know, you got a rusher that went over 1,200 yards. You know, the best start of any running back in the history of the team. You know, just leave the running back position alone. We got our bell cow running back. That's what you would think. That's not what Shula does. He found a way to lure Larry Zonka back out of retirement or back to the team, to the squad in 1979. And so you had Delvin Williams and Larry Zonka. Zonka, 79, had 220 rushes, 837 rushing yards, 12 touchdowns, 3.8 yards per carry, 16 wrecks, 75 rec yards, 1 TD. And then Delvin Williams also in 79 had 184 rushes, 703 rushing yards, 3 TDs, 3.8 yards per carry. So almost equal production. And we also drafted running back Tony Nathan this same year, who played that versatile running back role with running back Gary Davis getting his share of plays mixed in and making plays on special teams. We finished 10-6 in 79, and during this era, what made the rushing scheme so powerful was greasy scrambling ability, which made him also a running threat, and his deep play action to wide receivers like Warfield, Nat Moore, Twilly, Duriel Harris, Briscoe, and Freddie Solomon. Let's look at Shula's 80s monsters. When you look at the strategy that he used in the 80s, he started off with the approach of building a 3-headed monster with the emphasis of ground and pound like he did in the early 70s by feeding fullback Andre Franklin and running back Tony Nathan the ball from 80 to 84. They was just toting that bit. It was more of a 2-back system, but Shula was looking to add a third back, and he found him in fullback Woody Bennett and other backs that he rotated in with his monsters. Once we drafted Marino in 1983, he didn't really get away from forming a 3-headed monster. He just used them in different ways. So Shula used the opposite approach to play action pretty much. So when you think of play action, you think of using the running game to set up the deep passing down the field. It almost seems like Shula was using the deep passing down the field to set up big runs from his running backs and mirroring them, using them as decoys, as passers and blockers, as pass receivers and blockers, and just you not knowing when it was coming. And I think that's what he was trying to do. With Marino, he required his fullbacks to be wide receivers. Instead of him using them as power rushers like he did with Zonka and Don Nottingham, he wanted them to be receivers in the open field. So Marino threw the ball a lot to his running backs and fullbacks to open up the bombs downfield. And that's what I also meant by the Shula split back system video. Bobby Humphrey, Troy Stratford, they were like additional wide receivers. And the idea was to give Marino contingency plans when he can't throw the ball downfield. He formed a monster with running back Tony Nathan, running back Joe Carter, and fullback Woody Bennett. He tried to form one with Stratford, running back Lionel Hampton, and fullback Ron Davenport, but they wasn't as effective as the others. Let's look at Shula's 90s 3-headed monsters. 90s was pretty much more the same. winning was more of the same, and stubborn Shula stuck to the script and just kept winning. From 1990 to 95, he formed more committees, more monsters. We went 12-4 in 1990, 11-5 in 1992, running by committee with running back Mark Higgs and power running back Sammy Smith and fullback Tony Page. And this is around the same time when every team was pretty much trying to copy the Cowboys again, that 90s dynasty team, by, trying to get a bell cow. They was also trying to copy the Detroit Lions by trying to find another Barry Sanders and looking for running backs in the draft that was in that mode as the bell cow. Shula stuck to the script, and he was stubborn that way. I would say that 1992 roster, again, is my favorite Miami Dolphins roster of all time on both sides of the ball. I will put the 1990 and again, the 1992 roster up against pretty much any team in history. And they're going to lose some games, but those two rosters, I think, will beat a lot of teams today, no doubt, without a shadow of a doubt. But before Shula retired, he was pretty much on the way to creating another monster with running backs Bernie Parmalee and running back Terry Kirby. Terry Kirby was a versatile running back, and Irvin Spikes was the power back. So he was on his way to creating another monster. And after Shula retired in 95, that pretty much started the beginning of the Johnston-Wanstead regime, and we switched the whole philosophy to more of a bell cow or a two-back scheme, and we ain't been the same since, pretty much. There's rosters where we could have built monsters, but we just was never thinking that way. We could have had a three-headed monster under Sperano when we had Ricky Williams, Ronnie Brown, and running back Marcus Thigpen. Fans, y'all let me know in the comment section if y'all remember running back Marcus Thigpen. When we was running the Wildcat, Marcus Thigpen was one of them running backs that we used to have on special teams that had a lot of speed, but we just really didn't use a lot. We rarely gave him the ball, and I think if Shula was the coach, he would have gave him more touches and used him as a receiver in the passing game. We also could have formed a three-headed monster under Joe Philbin when we had Reggie Bush. Reggie ran almost identical to Mercury Morris. And, when Reggie was running that ball, man, and he was making the cut, especially that cut that he made against the Colts where he just stopped on the dime and just broke to the right, man, he was just way too shifty. But what did? We got rid of fullback Javorsky Lane, who was opening up holes for Reggie Bush. If you watch the plays, Javorsky Lane was that power fullback that I'm talking about that we finally have on the team that we haven't had, in a long time, that was opening up holes for Reggie Bush. So Philbin was actually had the right idea. Philbin was running a West Coast scheme and was trying to build that. He was trying to build that with these players. And like I said, Lane was opening up lanes for Reggie, and he was also, if you think about it, if we would have kept Javorsky Lane, he would have opened up holes for Daniel Thomas. Fullback Daniel Thomas, or running back Daniel Thomas, who we overused and used the wrong way. And, Jeff Ireland it seemed like he just wanted us to really use Daniel Thomas to the max. And I felt like there was times that we inserted him in the game at the wrong times. Should have had Reggie in the game, but had Daniel Thomas in there. But I think Daniel Thomas would have been what we wanted him to be if we would have never got rid of Javorsky Lane. He would have been opening up holes for Daniel. Some running backs run better with a fullback in front of them instead of running out of single back ace formations, which those open up a lot of holes too. Especially if you have your guards pulling and if you got tight ends who know how to block. But I think there's running backs who I think run better with a fullback. I think Duke Johnson is a running back that's a good example. All Miami Hurricane running backs run better with a fullback in front of them. Facts. But Daniel Thomas ended up being a bust. He didn't pan out. He didn't end up being that bowling ball that we needed. And Jeff Ireland, like I said, he put too much faith in him. The 2016 Fins team, when Gates was the coach, he also could have built a three-headed monster, but he also wasn't thinking that way. We had running back Jay Ajayi, running back Kenyon Drake, and Jay Ajayi was playing that power running back role. Kenyon Drake was the versatile running back, and Damian Williams could have also been that. He's kind of heavy like Jay Ajayi, so he had the size of a power back, but he was kind of the problem also. He was a log jam. We should have got rid of Damian Williams and just kept Jay Ajayi, Kenyon Drake, and then looked for a speed shifty back in the Mercury Morris, Darren Sproles type of mold. But Gates really wanted running back Arian Foster. That was the problem. He wanted him to be the primary back. And I know why. I mean, Gates runs Mike Mark's system, which is a single back system, and it works best with a versatile running back who's equally a threat running and receiving. The reason this is so important is because Gates don't want to have to sub guys in and out. He want to have a back that's so good at both that they can't give away the play when he's in the game. And I think in Gates' mind, it was frustrating, to have to put Drake in on passing plays and Ajayi in on first and second down. He felt like defenses was keying up on that, but that's because he didn't know how to adjust from Mike Mark's scheme if they stop it. He relied too much on that. Plus, he couldn't control the egos enough to get all of those running backs to buy into that scheme. I think Flores tried to build a three-headed monster, but he just didn't get the combination right. Never could find the right power back for us. Jordan Howard and Malcolm Brown, they was both bust on this team. And that limited us as far as protection out of the gazillion single back plays that we was running last year and the year before that. If you're going to run single back, like I said, it's best to run it with a heavier back who can take on the blitzes. And now we have too many running backs with the same or similar weight. Sony's, the Quandre, or Dopes, I think they could be the power backs, but we'll see how it pans out in training camp. I would love for us to try and contact free agent running back Bo Scarborough, who Tua played with at Alabama, who we had success with. If he's available, last time we seen him, last sighting of Bo Scarborough was with the Lions. But I think he can be that power back in that Derrick Henry mode who we can use. And if Gus Edwards from the Ravens gets let go, or maybe we could trade for Gus will be perfect as a power rush running / fullback for this offense. I had UCLA running back Zach Charbonnet on my draft board because I thought he was coming out this year, but he elected to stay with the Bruins and come out next year. So Chris Grier, make sure you look at some power backs next year's draft. Try to see if one gets let go before the start of the season. And to all the fans watching this, y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section about Shula's three-headed running back monster. And let me know what y'all think about this whole video and how y'all think we should approach the running back room. But till next time, signing off, Fins up, TBFN signing off.